Hey guys, and welcome to Parents Night. We're excited to be spending this time with you. We're in week 2 of a series that we're calling Make Sense. In this series, we're exploring the question, does how we're living really make sense? And we're looking at it through the lens of parenting and raising the rising generations. Now, last time we laid the groundwork for where we are as parents and the importance of leading in our homes. If you missed it, you can check that video out on our YouTube channel. This week, we're looking at how do we do meaningful engagement in our kids' faith development.
As parents, we want the best for our kids. And if we know Jesus ourselves, then we know that the best thing for our kids is for them to develop a personal, meaningful connection with Christ. But how do we make this happen? How do we make them want this for themselves?
And those are great questions. But before we dig too deep into those, I want to talk about a movie that we actually watched with our kids the other night. We watched the movie Ralph Wrecks the Internet. It was an awesome movie. Now, there's this one couple in the movie that they decide they're going to adopt like a whole bunch of these kids that are a little on the wild side. And it gets pretty crazy for a time. But then you get to the end of the movie and you see a huge change in these kids. And while these parents are sitting down beside this racetrack watching their kids, you see another character come up and he says to these adoptive parents, like, I got to hand it to you. How on earth did you manage to tame those things? And the couple, they look at him and they respond by saying, it's simple, Serge. The key to parenting is, and then suddenly as they begin explaining, a whole bunch of cars began racing by, drowning out all of their wisdom. And then when the cars finally finish, the character sits back and he's like, wow, I wish every parent could hear that. And it's played off as a good joke, but it drives home the idea that there really is no key to good parenting. And I know this may not be what you want to hear, but it's kind of the same for those of us who are seeking to develop our kids' faith. You see, there's no formula where you can just do A plus B and then get C, a lifelong faith in Jesus Christ.
Relationships don't work that way. Our kids and their faith development are not a problem to be solved, but rather something to be nurtured and invested in. Think of it like a garden. If you want good things to grow, you need to plant good things, but it doesn't just end there. You also need to water, fertilize, remove weeds, create space for the plant to grow and flourish, make sure it gets enough sunlight. And even after all that, there is not a guarantee that everything will turn out the way you hope. But with the proper gardening, your chances go way up.
Now, when it comes to our kids, it's often far more complex than gardening. But a lot of the basic principles remain. Our kids need the right things planted in their lives. They need proper nurturing. They need some things removed from their lives. They need space to grow, and they need time in the sun. And when I say sun, I mean, Jesus Christ, obviously, but regular sun is good too. Get them some vitamin D. But I want to point out that these things are not things that you just big things you do once and then expect that everything will be okay. These things require regular attention. But the beauty is that if it's done consistently, it leads often to positive results. Now, I'll be honest, it can definitely be discouraging, though, when you're looking at your kids and you see a huge gap between where they are now and where you want them to be. It can feel like that challenge ahead of us it's too big to manage. Or there's a lot of difficulty when we want to see big change in our kids and we get discouraged when we put in big efforts ourselves and then don't get the results that we were hoping for. Especially as our kids tend to get older and we feel like we're losing a sense of control or even a voice in their lives. Now, I will say, time is one of our greatest resources as parents. And I bring this up because I want to encourage parents of even younger kids to start investing in and nurturing the right things early in your kids' lives. But I also want to say, if you feel like it's too late for your family, if you feel like your kids have gone too far, I want you to know that's a lie. No one is too far gone. If God could change the Apostle Paul from a Christian hater and killer into a man who traveled the world sharing the gospel, then he can change the hearts of your sons and daughters. And if that's you, I want to encourage you, let us know where you're at, because we want to stand here with you, believing with you, and praying beside you for your kids. Now, like I was saying, it can definitely feel very discouraging when we look at our kids and see big gaps between where they are and where we want them to be. But change is something that often takes time. There's a quote that I love from Pastor Craig Groeschel. He puts it like this: small things done consistently make for big change or big progress over time.
As parents, we love seeing tangible, positive changes in our kids' lives. But what I've often seen is it's not the big, sudden changes that last in our kids, but the changes that are built over time.
Yeah, what we mean by this is, well, for me, over the years, I've seen and I've taken a lot of students to something called YC. Unfortunately, it's no longer around, which is sad. But at these events, it's an awesome thing. At YC, it's common to see students have light bulb moments where they suddenly get something really big, or where they make big faith commitments. Or events like YC often act like a catalyst, igniting big life change, and it feels wonderful in the moment. But here's the thing: I often get to see these same students in the weeks after YC. And I've seen students get super pumped at YC and then shortly after, fade out. I've seen students, make big steps towards Jesus, and then after YC, they walk away from the church. Events like YC, they are really good. Summer camps are also a really good thing that are similar, but all on their own, they're lacking a lot. I've seen parents send their kids to YC with hope, like maybe YC will turn my kid around. Unfortunately, I rarely ever see that happen. And what I see is students who have had little faith influence before YC, they often return to where they were after YC. The change doesn't stick. But I have seen students who have solid faith investment before coming to YC, and often they come back moving forwards and growing. And as I was thinking about this whole concept, I was drawn back to the parable Jesus told about the farmer and the seeds in the soil. Remember, the farmer used the same seeds for all the different soils that he tried planting in, but most of the soil was not prepared to receive that seed. Now, before I go on, I want to point out that, studies do show that Christian summer camps, events like YC, retreats, they actually have a very positive impact on kids' faith formation. But all on their own, they're definitely not enough.
If we as parents aren't doing our part to prepare the soil of our kids' lives, we can't assume that these events will fix everything. You see, as parents, when we invest in our kids' faith development, it's like preparing the soil for the seeds. Now this brings us to the question of how. How do we invest in their faith development?
Last week, we talked about the importance of us leading by example in our homes. And with that, I want to read a quote to you guys from the Hemorrhaging Faith Study. It says, if young adults remember their parents being consistent in regular church attendance, prayer outside of like dinner grace, and Bible reading, these spiritual disciplines are more likely to occur in their own lives. So the thing is, in our homes, we lead by example. But there also comes a point for us not to just lead by example, but we lead by taking on the attitude of the Apostle Paul when he said, follow me as I follow Christ. That's where we invite our kids into the process with us.
Great ways to do this is pray together, not just for meals and at bedtime, but ask them how their day is at school. And if there was difficulties, then pray with them over those. Or if it was a good day, pray with them to thank God for the good day. Find creative ways to bring prayer into the culture of your home.
Another great thing is find a way to do devotionals and explore the Bible with your kids. A great resource I found that we've tried a couple times and we really enjoy is something called Sojourn Bible Studies. It's by Chosen Gen Ministries. They put together an amazing study that first you do it together as parents, and then they have sections for you to do with your kids, and they have it broken down into age-appropriate categories, and it's a fantastic thing. And the best part is it's free, which is always good when you don't got money. Now, I want to bring up a big topic though, but we're just going to kind of scratch the surface of this because it's a huge topic we could spend a lot of time in. But biblical illiteracy is actually a huge problem amongst many of our youth and young adults. They don't know much of what's really in the Bible, and many of them don't know how to process what they do read. This tends to lead to a lot of problems, and it needs to change because many of our kids don't know how to deal with conflicts between what they've been taught and what the world tells them. And often what we're seeing is they will walk away from biblical principles because they just don't understand them. And this is an excellent area that we as parents can invest in. Now, if you feel like you yourself have no idea how to work through some of these things, that's fantastic, because I have some great news for you. We can help you with this. Come talk to us, message us, and we will help you grow in this so that you can help your kids grow in this. Now, another important thing to do with your kids is consistent attendance in church. This is Sunday mornings where they connect with and become part of the larger church body, which is super important. But also for those of you guys with teenagers, there's youth. Studies have shown that half of those who attended church youth groups weekly as teens said that they attend religious services at least weekly as an adult. Now, that's compared to the just 18% of those who attended youth group 1 to 3 times a month, or the 9% of those who attended youth group less than monthly. Youth group is an important part of our kids' faith development, and there's a lot of stuff we can go into that, but we'll save that for another conversation. But in the study Renegotiating Faith, they point out that sticky faith, or faith that really sticks, is both personal and communal. We're not meant to do this on our own, and neither are our kids. They need peers to grow in this with. Now, there's a lot more that we could go into on all this stuff right now, but here's the thing. If we give you guys too many things to look at, the likelihood is that you're not going to do anything. So today we've kind of laid out 3 excellent action steps that you can take. We've laid out, make prayer a priority in your home. That's a huge one. Explore the Bible together with your kids, and thirdly, make church attendance an important part of your family's culture. Now, some of you guys, you may be sitting at this and be like, "Oh, I already do all those things," and if that's you, awesome. We can talk about other stuff. But if this is something that you're lacking, and if you find some of these are areas in your family where there may be gaps, I want to encourage you to take a look at these 3 things and pick just one, and try and start this week. Try and find a way to invest in these this week. Now, for those of you guys who are watching this online, I want to encourage you to first pray and ask God what steps He would like you to take. But secondly, I really want to invite you guys to Parents' Night happening on November 19th. That's our next one. You see, the big point of these Parents' Night things is, we're giving you some content here, some stuff to think about and work through. But the bigger part of this is the community that we're building. It's the conversations that we have. We don't put the conversations online here because it's meant to be a connecting point where you show up and you engage in the conversation. And this is meant to be far more than just content that you consume, but it's meant to be a community and a conversation that you engage with. So we want to encourage you guys, mark it on your calendars, November 19th, next Parent Night at 8 p.m. And we would love to sit down and just talk life with you guys. Now, with that said, I think we're done. See you next time.